Welcome back to Afternoon Express. Now, identity theft is rife in South Africa, and at least half of South African consumers have either been a victim of identity theft or know someone who has. So it's time for us now to start wishing up and washing out.
According to South African Fraud Prevention Service statistics, identity theft has increased by 200% over the past 6 years. If one thing is certain, is that criminals are working tirelessly to assume your identity in order to acquire confidential information, giving them access to all your personal information, including passwords, bank account details, and more. This afternoon, we have SABRIC CEO Kalyani Pilay to teach us how to wise up and watch out so that we don't become another identity theft statistic. Welcome to the Loft, Kalyani. Now, today we're focusing specifically on identity theft. How can one become a victim of identity theft, and what does it entail?
Well, what happens is that the criminals actually get sufficient information about a particular person, your personal information, your confidential information.
Okay.
Personal information is your information like your name, your ID number, your address. Okay. Confidential information relates more to your passwords, your PIN numbers, your bank account details, your logon information. Both your personal and your confidential information is so sought after by criminal syndicates. And they use that information to assume another person's identity. And that enables them to, of course, go about their fraudulent behavior without their own identities being detected. And that's why we say to people all the time, we have to be really mindful of it at all times. It's not just a South African problem. You know, it's a global problem.
It's so scary to hear these stories coming out and emerging. How can we ensure that we don't fall victim?
Well, I think, you know, that's really very important. So we say to people all the time, for one, don't write down your PIN numbers and passwords and keep it somewhere. Don't say you put it onto your phone and then your phone's not locked. You know, we say to people, unfortunately, and we know that people have so many different PIN numbers and so many different passwords to remember, but you have to find some way and some mechanism in terms of how you're actually storing this and how you're actually remembering it. And so that's very important that you actually consciously make sure that you protect your information by not just leaving it around. Also, don't carry all the things in your handbag or in your pocket or in your backpack. Don't carry it around with you. But also always make sure that when it's in your home, that it's under lock and key, and that you actually make an effort to look after all of that information. You know, people suddenly will realize something is missing and it's too late because then someone's already used it or made a particular effort. When you're destroying your information, don't just take it and squash it and throw it into the dustbin. You've got to shred it. I mean, all of us don't have shredders in our homes and stuff, but if you don't have a shredder, then you make sure that you destroy it properly so that if somebody is doing what we call dumpster diving, where they go into your dustbin at night when you're sleeping or when you put your
and they go fishing for your information.
And so another simple tip, always make sure you destroy it sufficiently that somebody can't just quite easily put it together again.
And how can one find out if they have been compromised?
I think some of the important things to do is you can run a check with the South African Fraud Prevention Services to see if your identity has been compromised, if somebody's reported it, if someone's used it. You can run a check with the credit bureaus to see if there's anybody that's been applying for facilities on your name, or if there's anybody that's been doing a check because someone's been trying to acquire facilities on your name. So also an important thing we also say to people is make sure you check to see that your computer, your emails have not been hacked into, because if people hack into that, they have access to all that information. So go to your sent items when you log onto your computer, check to see that there's no mails that went from your machine that wasn't actually you.
From you.
Yes, and also go to the deleted items, check. You unfortunately have to start developing these habits to mitigate risk as an individual
and going through everything with a fine-tooth comb and kind of making doubly sure. Lastly, Kalyani, I have to find out, you find yourself in this compromised situation, you have fallen victim. What do we do now?
The most important thing that you need to do is, obviously, if you've already become a victim, then you need to go to the police and report it. But very important that you need to let your bank know, because what we found as well is that criminals, syndicates, steal this information it's not as if they steal it today and they're using it today.
Yes.
They actually keep all of this information, and they could use it even way down the line. So sometimes you may not even realize when it's actually happened that they actually stole or got access to your information. So I think the most important thing, be vigilant all the time.
Yes.
You can't let your guard down.
I always take so much away from our conversations. Thank you so much, Kalyani. Now, if that's not enough to deal with, your Facebook, Instagram and Twitter accounts are another hot target for cyber criminals. Join us next week with Kalyani, where we discuss social media hijacking and tips to avoid being another social media compromised victim.
We are brave, innovative, everywhere. We are SABRIC.